kind of fast forwarded through some stuff because I was trying to get stuff done, but the quick change subframe is done. We got the old subframe out with the 350Z diff and all the Wisefab stuff. These are the axles that I will be using. We're trying to get the adapter made tomorrow. We have the file already, just need to have it cut. I've got the drive shaft being made tomorrow. It is, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 days to prep, which means we gotta get the quick change in, get the car tested. We still have a fuel problem. I think the injectors are clogged again. So I've got Deechworks fuel filters coming. I hope that's what it is because I can't afford to have this thing need a quick change and need like other work because it's not running right. So the plan is to merge all this stuff with this stuff, but in order to get this subframe to fit, we have the GK Tech offset adapter bushings. This is a S14 subframe, so these are offset towards the inside. They are not fitting perfectly, which I've had this problem before. You have a super old car that's bent and you're trying to get bushings to fit, it's just not perfect. So that's gonna take a little bit of work to get that going, but the quick change is ready to go in. Subframe's done and painted, as well as part of the floor. I painted that also. And when we took the fuel filters out, come in the light here. I don't know if you can see, but oh yeah, there's still some residue. So even though that corrosion stuff is caught in the filter, I can assume that some of it got passed because I think these are 100 micron and we really need to be running like 10 or 5 micron. I think the ones from Deechworks are 5 micron. That's gonna stop all this stuff from causing problems in the future. But we still have the injector screens in the adapters on the injectors. So that should have stopped stuff hopefully from getting into the injector itself. So we're gonna put the other injectors on our injector cleaner tomorrow. And then what we'll do is we'll back flush them. So you put the injectors in backwards and so you push all the junk back where it came from instead of further into the injector. So these are the ones that we took out on the road. We're gonna clean these ones. We're gonna clean the ones on the car. If we're doing all that, we'll probably put the Deechworks rail on the car also, do the full upgrade. But a lot of work to do in a small amount of time. But the reason I started this video is because I wanted to show some progress on what's going on next. Quick change is done, ready to go in. One thing that's gonna stop us is this part of the frame rail. Is there enough light? Yeah. This part of the frame rail is right in the way of the top of the quick change. So we have to cut up into here, all the way across and then down. And then the Einsel kit also comes with some plates that go up in there to get welded. And so that is going to allow us to finally fit the subframe. Because Jake and I started to fit the subframe and put the bushings in. I'm like, why won't it go all the way in? I thought the bushings were stopping us, but it's actually the top of the subframe is now hitting that. So in order for me to move on, I'm talking a lot. In order for us to move on, I have to cut that out and then weld in there. So that's the next step to move forward with this. Pretty fancy stuff. It's got this little plate, so that gives me a reference of like how much to cut out. That'll go up in there and then strengthen the frame. Super thick stuff. So once that's in place and then boxed all the way up in there, the subframe should fit. We can get the bushings in. Once the bushings are in, I can bolt the quick change into the subframe, put it all in there. The one problem, not two, one problem we're gonna have is the fuel tank is right in the way of where the quick change rear cover is gonna be. So instead of actually being a quick change, I'm kind of limited on my gear ratio because we can't swap it at the track. So what I'm gonna do is put whatever gear ratio I feel best for that track, put it in, and then we have to leave it. If we have to change it at the track, I think we'll literally have to drop the subframe out. And with as tight as these bushings are, the subframe's not just gonna slide in and out. I think we're gonna have to be hammering it into the car. So that's not gonna be an option. In the future, I mean, before the next event, we're gonna have to redesign the entire fuel tank, fuel system. Everything's gonna have to move in order for the quick change to be functional how it's supposed to be. But at least we'll have what we need. I think if we put like a 5.3 or a 5.8 in that rear end, I'll be able to row through the gears really quick, get off the line fast, get into fourth gear, and do that whole bank. And I think, because basically when I used Trenton's car, it was a very similar setup. I mean, almost the exact same drivetrain. And I remember using his 5.1, 5.3, something like that, and it was like really, really good. And the tracks we did last year was like the Riverside, which is the event we're doing after this. So if I find the right gear ratio, I think it'll work for a lot of what we're doing. Not that I don't have options, I bought like 7 gear ratios, but I'm not sure if we'll be able to do all this before Riverside because it's 2 weeks after this next event. Got a lot of work to do. Enough jibber jabber, I'm gonna start cutting. Let's go. I'm standing in fuel, but this doesn't make sparks. If I was using the grinder, I'd be worried.
No, you wouldn't. You send it.
Check for fuel lines, wires. other such things. Oh, that's not a very straight cut at all. I was just about to start bragging about how good I am with a Sawzall, but that cut is not even close to straight. Maybe I'll have to finish that up with the grinder. All right. Good enough. I can fill the rest with weld. All right, it's only a structural part of the car. All right, let's see how this lines up in there. It's not bad. Well, I left it wide because I got to fit plates upward, so I'd leave space for those as well. But my cuts definitely get wider towards the top. Nice. I kind of want to finish it with a grinder, but I don't want to catch the whole shop on fire. What should I do? Leave in the comments. Should I catch the shop on fire or not? All right, next step. So I grabbed the grinder, but I also grabbed the torch because I'm a little bit concerned if this stuff's still flammable. And I've got open fuel lines here, so I'm hoping the flames don't go up and touch that, but I really want to find out if it's gonna. We're good. That's also how you test for gas leaks in your house. Quickest way to find out if there's a danger or not. Take two. Where's my battery? Oh, it's right here. Have you guys ever had like DeWalt, Milwaukee, Makita, like all these different tools, and you never know what battery? It's just, it took me a while, but I finally converted to all Milwaukee. I used to have DeWalt and like some other stuff, and huge pain. But you gotta be rich to have Milwaukee, you know. If you're not there, you'll get there someday. Keep working hard. Not smart, just hard. Work hard. Right next to these fuel lines.
Is that an awkward cut?
Yeah, it's absolutely an awkward cut. If you watch my last video, you'll see that I've upgraded from taking the guard off to putting it back on.
Is that an upgrade now?
Yeah.
The upgrade was taking it off last time.
Well, yeah, you're right. Can't say I've had an incident yet, but I know it's coming.
At least you got your safety specs.
Yeah. Not by choice. HR requires it.
Yeah.
Hey, we made it through. Not a bad cut. That's a bad cut. It's a bad cut. But let me show you this. Alright, so that's what we're dealing with now that I got it cut and spread open. But I'm not going to be able to get up in there with the grinder, so I'm going to have to cut the back side of the car from the front side here. So I'll probably make a slice as best I can and then use the Sawzall to finish it off. This is kind of tricky. I wish I could pull the fuel cell and take the fuel lines out, but that's like another half day's worth of work that I don't have right now. Look at this guy. One-handed on the phone, laying glue. He knows what he's doing. William's been gluing my glass in for 15 years, I think. In this car too. Yeah, oh yeah, I'm recording you.
I saw that last YouTube video that you posted with me.
We're probably putting it in a video. We're probably making like a YouTube reel.
3,000 people.
Yeah, let's make a YouTube short out of this.
Are you insulting me, William? This guy's insulting.
I don't know 3,000 people.
I'm done filming this guy. He's backhanded insult. What I realized is this this glass we took out of here has literally been in there since I think 2013 or 2014. And all these rock chips were, I was drifting with Yuha in Dothan, Alabama, and just got peppered with all those rock chips, and then it just started splitting and stuff. So that windshield's got some history, but it's time for a new one. Welcome. Tonight we are going to install this Works fuel rail. The one on the car right now is one that's been on there forever, and so since Works is coming on board this year, we're going to use their stuff. Fuel rails are it's just a tube with some holes in it, but like this one looks really nice.
That's a nice tube with some holes in it.
It's tubular, bro. No, but I think I mentioned this before, like fuel rails or whatever. I'm not like a big like fuel rail geek, but since we've had this one off so many times between me and Kelly working on the car and all the injector problems we had, that'll be all right. The way it mounts and the access to the bolts is actually makes a big difference on how quick we can get it out. The one that's on there right now is more difficult to take off in a hurry. So performance-wise, I'm sure there's not like a big difference, but ease of use and ability to remove it in a 5-minute timeout and swap injectors, since that seems to be our problem lately, is kind of nice. And I do think this looks better. Big shout out to Works. We got some more parts coming this week for Works. I say this week, we've got like 2 days left to prep. I'll show you in a minute all the quick change stuff that we did, but the reason we're moving from quick change to under the hood is because we're waiting on the drive shaft and the axle adapters, both of which were supposed to be done today, both of which are not done today. So now it's nighttime and we're starting to work on something else. I'm figuring what else can we do to move forward? All this stuff needs to be done. So I'm gonna pull the injectors out, put them on the injector cleaning bench, and get going with all that stuff. So we got the injectors out and got everything set up on the bench. These injectors had these double stack injector caps on them to give us the length we needed. The caps themselves have a screen in them, and the injectors also have a screen in them. Obviously, I would tend to believe that this screen would get plugged before this one. It's hard to really see through them because they're not super see-through, but I do see a little bit of residue on the top of this one. Anyways, first thing I did was I ran them backwards in the injector machine to flush anything out, basically backflow them. We did that already on all of them, so now I'm getting to the part where we can test and see if they're all matched. This is without the allegedly plugged screens. So I'm hoping that all the injectors flow out evenly. And this, I'm not gonna measure it yet. I've got the valve wide open so they can just kind of run for a minute. It would be nice to have a machine that could do 6 injectors at a time to do a little bit better of a balance test. But usually what I do is I just run 4 of them, make sure they're pretty equal, put the other 2 in with the other 2, and then it kind of gives me a good reading on what's what here. Okay, I'm gonna let this drain out, and then I'm gonna close that up and do a flow test on it and see. There's a bunch of different settings on here. You can do like an idle test, a medium test, high speed, accelerating test. Oh, reverse flushing. Probably should have done that. We've used this tool a lot, especially doing CNG. CNG injectors tend to need a lot of cleaning. And so this thing's paid itself off 10 times over. And I don't really use it for my cars very often, but I probably should check my injectors more often. All right, now that's drained out, we'll close it off. And see how they balance out. Oh, we're out of fluid. That's pretty close. About as much as I trust this machine. That one's 72 versus 78, so that's the furthest off right there. But that's pretty close, especially for these super high flow injectors. So I'm really thinking the issue is probably inside of these. We'll probably ditch these and go with the new ones that we got. They're a little bit shorter, but that fuel rail is adjustable. These have no screens, but the injectors do have screens inside of them. So we'll be able to stack them like this and make that work. I think that's gonna be the move right there. So I'm gonna finish flowing these out. If they all flow good, I'm gonna put that back in. We need one fitting that I don't have for the fuel rail, which is a return line. It's a 3/8 NPT to a -6. All the stuff I have is 1/4 NPT. So I'll have to go to the fitting store tomorrow, buy that to get that running. But I'm just trying to make progress on anything we can with the little bit of time we have left. Everything happens during business hours. Everybody closes, and we're kind of limited on what we can do at night. So I'm trying to knock that stuff out. The one thing I haven't done yet is install the ADU dash, but that seems so unimportant compared to everything else right now. I'm putting that off till the end, which means it probably won't happen. But on a side note, I got a new front windshield, so I don't have to bribe the tech guys to let me through tech again with my cracked windshield. All right, onward and upward. Hey guys, we're back at it again. Once again, I skipped a whole bunch of steps in this process because I was so busy. I didn't have time to film it, but a bunch of cool stuff has happened. We were able to get 350Z/300ZX axles to fit. They both have the same flange pattern, so this happens to be GTR 300ZX axles, but you could also use 350Z axles. We got the pieces made, and of course they're on the car now, so I can't show them. But I think I showed you guys already the 3D printed piece that we had. We got these cut out of steel. So those are now on the car, installed, with the axles installed. It uses 2 of the Z32 short side axles. So they're both the same length. We had to do some crazy stuff modifying the bolts. We had to drill out the threads. 350Z axles are not threaded, but 300ZX GTR Q45 axles are threaded, so you have to drill those out, use an Allen headed bolt, and it's still really tight to get through there. But we were able to get it to fit. Quick changes installed, drive shaft is done. Everything came together today. We didn't have the drive shaft or the axle flange adapters until this afternoon. And so all that stuff came together. It all went on fairly smooth. I wish I'd been filming because it was funny. Some stuff happened, but it's all done, installed. But now we have another major issue, which is the engine is having trouble. I literally pulled it on the dyno the other day, left it overnight, started it the next day, and it was running poorly. And so I'm like, oh, it must be something really simple, right? Because like you don't have major problems that just happen from parking the car overnight. It's not like leaving your car like sitting and then having rusty rotors that you got to break the rust off of them the next day. This wasn't that kind of a problem. This is a major, like, it went from running good to not running good, and I'm like, that's not a thing, that doesn't happen, right? And I didn't even leave it sitting. It was like literally one night to the next. So we did some diag today. We checked coils, we checked injectors, we cleaned the injectors, we changed the coils, we put spark plugs in, we changed the gap. We checked everything we could figure out. We checked timing, cam timing, all that stuff. I had Derek come over, he plugged in his laptop and was just looking through all the PID data, and the one thing that he noticed was the VVTi readings, the actual cam angle versus the commanded cam angle was off by 60 degrees. So it's like, okay, that tells us that something's going on there, and it would make sense because it was running as if the cam was just crazy advanced. But we unplugged the VVTi solenoid, that didn't change anything. We checked the movement of the VVTi cam gear, and it moved, and there was no problem with that we can see. I'm not saying that's not the issue because we still don't know what's wrong. Obviously the sensor's working because we are getting a signal from it. We scope the data, all that stuff looks perfect between cam and crank. So to this point, I don't know exactly what's going on. Jake and I have been scratching our heads, coming up with ideas. We just pulled off the cam gear. We were starting to think that this pin was sheared off and that the cam gear had moved a few degrees. That's not the case. I was actually kind of hoping that was going to be the problem because now we're back to wondering what's wrong with it. I might just throw a different cam gear at it because I have another one and see if that changes anything. But we're getting down to the wire where like we only have like a day left to do work on this thing. And so we have to be very calculated about where we spend our time and what we do to make this thing work. So that's where we're at right now. That's the drama. We don't have a solution at this point, but hopefully by tomorrow, Jake's gonna wake up in the middle of the night, have a dream about it, like, oh, this is what's wrong. And then tomorrow everything will be fixed, right? I'm counting on you, Jake. I'm counting on you to have technical dreams tonight. But that's it for tonight. We'll be back tomorrow. I got high hopes for this because the quick change I think is going to make a big difference. It has a 5.1 ratio in it right now. I think that's going to it should be about 115 mile per hour wheel speed for this setup, which I think is going to be good for the Orange Show Speedway. So I'm excited about that. I just don't know why we have problems like this that have never existed before. The engine's never been a problem. It's always been really reliable, except for the injector problems and all the other problems we've had with the engine. Other than those engine problems, this thing's never had a problem. So. All right, guys, we're back at it again. This is our last day of prep on this car. We basically got the front taken apart. The cam looks like it's good. The pin's not sheared off like we were thinking was possible. Everything looks good. The sensor and the teeth, everything's how it's supposed to be. So Jake had an idea that maybe there's something going on with the ECU. So we're gonna swap the ECU. We're gonna swap the front gear and maybe put a different cam sensor in it and see what happens. Because mechanically, all the timing lines up, everything looks good. I don't know. Are you as frustrated as I am, Jake?
Yeah, like, because stuff, it's not making sense.
It doesn't make sense.
Like,
Like,
when stuff makes sense, it's like the worst feeling ever.
Yeah.
It's like,
It makes you feel like, I don't know what I'm doing, but we know what we're doing because we've all done this 100 times, and this is literally the simplest engine to do this stuff on. And so when you get to the point where like nothing really adds up, like you gotta have a direction to go. So the only thing we can do is go after the stuff that's most likely the variables, right? Which is the cam gear, the sensor, and the ECU, electronics. Because mechanically, everything looks like it's supposed to be, where it's supposed to be. Literally nothing changed, and so it is possible that something happened electronically that caused it to not work properly. Because like parking it and sitting overnight is not gonna make mechanical parts move or change, right? Like it just doesn't add up. But electronically, who knows what's going on in there? It could, you know, something could happen that way. So anyways, that's what we're on to now. We'll see what happens. All right, so I just wanted to give a quick glance at what was done here. This is the, what are they called, Zach? 930 CV adapters? Yeah, and then so Zach drew up this part. Thanks, Zach.
Yeah, man.
He drew up this part that would adapt the 930 to the, I'll call them Z axles. It works on both the Z32 twin turbo GTR axles and the Z33 350Z axles, same flange pattern. But yeah, then we just ran bolts. We had to drill the threads out of the axle, ran the bolts through. These are tapped to a M10 1.0, 1.5. And yeah, it just fits beautifully. And these are the shorter of the axles. I believe it's a left side axle on any Nissan of the Z category. But we use the same axle on both sides since the diff is perfectly centered. And it works out really well. Like, everything seems to be good so far. It spins, there's no binding. Our local drive shaft shop had this done in a day, which was pretty cool. That was like 230 bucks. And all in all, like, saved a ton of money with the axle setup. I mean, the quick change itself is expensive, but the axles are usually like 1,500 bucks. This whole setup ended up being a lot less than that. And it's something serviceable, replaceable. We can get these axles and have spares. So I'm really stoked on that. Huge shout out to everyone that made it happen, but especially Zach for drawing that up, and it fit perfectly. I think I showed you the one, he 3D printed it, and it fit perfectly, so we knew once that they got on the CNC machine, it would be a perfect fit. So super stoked on that. But now back to the front of the car, it's time to figure out what's going on with the poor running issue. All right, at this point in the video, I want you guys to tell me, take your guesses. What do you think is going to be wrong with the car? Because obviously we have to figure it out. We don't know yet. Do your keyboard diagnostics. We're working on cam and crank sensor right now. That's kind of where we're at. But let me know what you think is going to be the problem. It did 670 something, and we didn't run it all the way out, so we're gonna do one more pull just for fun. That's always when bad stuff happens. It's scary to be on the dyno. Jake's scared of it. I'm scared of it. I'm not scared to be on the track though. All right, so long story short, the car kind of fixed itself. I hate that because that means it's probably gonna act up again. There were a couple things that we found in the settings of the ECU. So after Derek had tuned it, I usually go back through and change a couple things. I do crackle tune and stuff like that, and I think I messed up a couple things that luckily I was able to find because I kind of knew what I'd messed with. So in doing that, I found some of that stuff. So it's working now. It did 680 horsepower on the dyno, which is good. It revs out. Everything seems to be really good on it, so I'm stoked on that. Yeah, it's time to kind of get ready and get going. We got to load the trailer and all that stuff, but hopefully it's all good. I installed this right here so that we can close the top because it doesn't close itself. This is our track box, and I can wrap this around. I'm just wondering how many shins that's going to claim this weekend. We'll keep a count going. We're out here at the Utah Motorsports campus. Today is the day we're driving to California for HOTPIT Autofest. Look at that. HOTPIT, my banner. HOTPIT Autofest. We're shaking down here at UMC, which is our local track, just to make sure the car's all good. We got the fresh quick change in it. Everything's good as far as we know because we put it on the dyno. It made 680 horsepower, and we want to do some real world testing. Other than the first through fourth run up the street at the shop in the middle of the night, like the car hasn't been tested. So I actually want to do some shakedown, get to angle, make sure everything's working with the new setup. And then we'll put it back on the trailer, head to California, and we should be ready to go. So we'll see what the day has in store for us, but I'm really excited to drive this thing with short, fast gears and the quick change. Seems to be running a little hot with the fans on, so we may have to run without the trunk, which isn't ideal, but feels pretty good. I just want to pull a couple logs. Alright, so the testing went pretty well here at UMC. We killed a pair of tires, which I wasn't budgeting for. So we might be a little bit low on tires. This car in 4th gear just smokes them out like crazy. For some reason at Irwindale, I didn't seem to have like a lot of tire consumption. But today we had a lot of tire consumption. So hopefully Orange Show's not too hard on tires. But we're about to hit the road. We're just taking advantage of this opportunity to top off our motor fuel for this trip. And then we got a 10-hour ride all the way out to California. Looks like good weather. Wind is about 10 knots from the south. And light clouds, no precipitation. We'll be on our way. This is our most recent setup. It actually uses a drill and like a oil pump, and it pumps way faster than our old setup with all the electric pumps. It's like, we call it the Juice Mover 5000 because it really puts some fuel in there. Whoa, 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 whoa! So we made it to San Bernardino, and now at 10 p.m. we're stuck in bumper-to-bumper traffic. Classic Southern California. So a short story. We originally had a cheap roach motel, and started reading reviews on our way here, and it was really, really bad. We didn't have anywhere to put the truck and trailer, and I thought this is not worth the risk to park it there. We couldn't get in the track, so started looking for a second hotel. Found a nicer hotel across town. In the meantime, I was able to find my buddy Robbie's gonna let us keep our trailer at his place tonight. So we dropped that off, came to the nice hotel. So spent money on 2 hotel rooms, but at least we're safe and sound. The truck is parked in a nice area, and we can get a good night's sleep in a not roach infested motel. So that's it for tonight. We're gonna hit the track early in the morning. We got some work to do on the car, but that'll be for another video. So we'll see you guys in the morning. Bye.